What is the minimum amount of bananas required to beat Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze? Over the past month and then some, my Discord server and I have been throwing everything we've got at this game to answer that question, and today it all comes to an end. This has been one hell of a journey, and I can't wait for this grand finale. But before we can get started, we need to see where the banana count is at right now. If you haven't seen the previous episodes in the series, don't worry. I'll catch you up to speed in this video, but you can still check out the previous parts with the link in the description below as well. To kick off my new, most ambitious and time-consuming project ever, we're going back through each previous world to see the most efficient route that gets us to DK Island with the least amount of required bananas. On top of that, we'll be looking at each level individually and checking out all the improvements made by members of my Discord server, which you can join for free with the link below. By the end of this, we'll have a number for the minimum required bananas to beat the game and a number for each level individually. No more time to waste, let's finish this monster of a challenge from the very beginning. The best route to get through the first world is to ignore any and all secret exits. This only takes us through 5 levels in total and skips impossible stages like Zipline Shrine and Busted Bayou. Mangrove Cove gives us 12 bananas due to a barrel launch, but Shipwreck Shore was actually proven possible with 0 by Melontoad. I could have sworn I timed it perfectly when I was doing my own attempts, but I'm glad to be proven wrong. Canopy Chaos has 9 unavoidable bananas from a barrel shot, and Trunk Twister was brought down from 8 to just 5, also by Melontoad. Yeah, these minecart levels were really awful for this challenge, and I honestly didn't put too much time into routing them. And look at that, right before I went to record, Roymac came along and saved another banana. Nice! After beating level 4, all that's left is the boss, and while the first one specifically is really tough, none of the bosses in this game require any bananas. Since there weren't any improvements elsewhere in Lost Mangroves, we end off the world with just 26 bananas, 54 if you play every level. Technically, you can't access the K stages until collecting every Kong letter, but I'm not about to go through the entire game a second time to factor those in. This was already more than enough work. Autumn Heights is up next, and once again the best route is to play each main stage. Rodent Ruckus can be done without bananas, but Crumble Cavern gives a whopping 22, so we're going to be ignoring secret exits again. Windmill Hills gives us 15 bananas from barrel shots, and the start of Mountain Mania gives us 18 more for the same reason. However, Quag proved that with a really tricky roll jump, the banana I couldn't skip from this line here is possible to avoid. Borntop Hop gives us 2 more bananas, and Sawmill Thrill... Yeah, I really dropped the ball hard on this one in episode 2. Quag shaved off a whopping 6 bananas throughout this level, which is incredible, but also pretty embarrassing for me. Like I said, these were really hard to route, and I only tried each jump a handful of times before writing it off. Not surprised to see some improvements, but 6 bananas is really impressive work. Amazing job, Quag. But that's not all she did, because she also shaved off a banana in Wing Ding with a really creative damage boost to save a green balloon. This is my favorite save anyone has made so far. I never would have thought to try something like this. And about a week later, Roymac, determined to ruin any and all flow in my script, pulled off this awkward jump and brought the level all the way down to 0. Since Alpine Incline still sits at 0 as well, we finish off the world with 45 bananas, 67 if you play all the levels. The fact that a world this good isn't even in the top 3 for this game says a lot more than I ever could about its quality. Let's move on to the next. Bright Savannah is absolutely insane for this challenge. After some improvements by Quag and myself, there are only 4 unavoidable groups of bananas in the entire world. 1 big banana bunch in Grassland Groove, another big banana bunch in Frantic Fields, and 2 barrel shots in Precarious Pendulums. For a game like Tropical Freeze, that low of a score honestly blows my mind, but the unfortunate thing is that because the big banana bunches give 20 bananas each, the overall score is still just as high as the other worlds. 40 for the standard route and 50 for all levels. As for the improvements, the only bananas I wasn't able to shave off in my original video were this one in Scorch and Torch, which I corrected myself shortly after upload, and this one in Bramble Scramble, which Quag shaved off for me with a really tight roll jump. Other than that, every level is possible bananaless, and as a bonus, all 3 exits in Twilight Terror can be done without bananas too. This means you can take whatever route you want to get the minimum bananas, but personally I'd recommend taking the first secret exit in Twilight Terror and playing through Rickety Rafters. That's probably the most fun route possible. Breeze Cove is next, and here we actually want to take every secret exit we can so we don't have to play High Tide Ride. Deep Keep is first, and getting the secret exit bananaless is actually pretty tight. I was worried for a bit, but just 10 minutes after asking my Discord server for help, Dragon sent me a video proving it possible. Next on this route is Rockin' Relics, one of the best stages in the game for this run. As long as you take the secret exit, no bananas are required, and we can move on to Shoal Atoll. This one still requires 8 bananas, and C-Stack Attack right after still requires 15. However, Quag saved another banana for us in Current Capers by making a really nice roll jump with Cranky after the checkpoint. This is the only level so far where Cranky is more useful than the other 2 Kongs, and I'm really glad he's getting some screen time. Before revealing the totals for this world, I have to share one more pretty crazy improvement made by Quag. A Miss Abyss is possible with 0 bananas thanks to this gap over here on the right, and having this level at 0 feels so satisfying. It was so scary and intimidating when we first got to it, but having it drop all the way down to 0 really represents how far I've been able to take this run. Thanks again to everyone on my Discord. I never would have been able to get this far without your help, and you guys are honestly just a great group in general. That's 49 bananas for the main route in this world, and 74 for all levels. Juicy Jungle is interesting because for the most banana-efficient route, we're actually going to play an extra level. This is because the normal exit in Fruity Factory requires 8 bananas, and by taking the secret exit and playing another stage, we can skip that portion entirely. The other stage in question is Beehive Brawl, and thanks to the efforts of Queg, this stage was proven possible in just one single banana on this slope. After that, we can progress through the rest of the world as normal, and since this was the most recent episode, there aren't any more saves for us to talk about. Our totals for Juicy Jungle come out to 41 bananas for the normal route, and 57 if you play every level. And just like that, we're finally caught up and ready to tackle Donkey Kong Island, my favorite world in any video game. I still vividly remember playing this game for the first time and absolutely losing it when I saw level 1. I thought to myself, oh my god, they're actually making a level for each world of returns, this is going to be amazing, and somehow my expectations were still exceeded. Tropical Freeze is one of my favorite games ever made, and this world alone is a huge part of that. To finish off this video series in a big way, I played through every level normally before trying to avoid bananas. I've only ever played this game one other time so far, and that was years ago, so this was still very exciting. It was a blast and really helped me see the game as more than just a YouTube project, which is kind of what it started to feel like after over a month straight of playing it. So let's break down the magic of this broken paradise as we try to avoid as many bananas as possible. Homecoming Hijinks doesn't waste any time showing you exactly what you're in for with this world. It's a very challenging level as it should be, and it does a great job setting up the snowmads as a serious threat. The once lush and green jungle is now an icy wasteland falling apart at your feet, and the entire island feels like it's on the brink of collapse. Immediately upon entering the stage, you can see the start of the first level in Returns, Jungle Hijinks. It's not just a one-off Easter egg either, there's a bunch of callbacks to areas from that original level, my favorite of which being this part with the 2 statues. I'm a sucker for callbacks like these, and the entire island is full of them. I'll be sure to point out some of my favorites as we play through the world, but for now we have some bananas to dodge. This barrel section at the start is already one of the most interesting obstacles I've encountered in this game. At first I thought the only way through was going to be doing whatever this is. It worked, but it also used 2 green balloons, and I had a feeling we were going to need those for later. So I went back in and started experimenting with the terrain, and I discovered some pretty weird stuff. First of all, these icicles can be stood on and even rolled off of, but I wasn't sure how that would help me. Secondly, I discovered that timing this barrel shot in the right way launches me really close to the ending platform, but I hit a ceiling and fell into the void every time. Then I realized I could land on this bonus barrel and it would allow me to leave the bonus room and continue the level as normal. And after all that, as it turns out, you don't need a green balloon, the bonus barrel, or even a Kong buddy to get through here. Just time 3 super precise shots back to back and you'll reach the other side banana free. This was really hard to do and took me almost 20 minutes, but it was well worth it. From there, we can reach the first checkpoint without issue, but right after we're immediately presented with another barrel launch. I tried a green balloon as usual, but for some reason there's an invisible wall here preventing me from skipping it. Guess that's 13 more bananas for me. Right after this is another really tricky part. After a lot of experimenting, the best I could manage was one single banana by popping my green balloon at a really precise time and floating with Dixie to safety afterwards. Next is some more standard platforming until we reach checkpoint 2. After realizing you can stand up here for some reason, I grabbed the top of the wall and made a really tight squeeze to get by unscathed. I tried to time this barrel shot in such a way that I dodged this banana line at the same time, but sadly it wasn't working out and I reluctantly accepted 7 more bananas. The final section after this didn't have any bananas to dodge, but I did have this happen. Nice. That brings stage 1 up to 21 bananas, which isn't too bad when you consider all but one of them came from barrels. Let's head over to the beach with Seashore War. This level is one of the best in the entire world, which is saying a lot considering the competition. After level 1, the Snowmads are well aware of the Kongs being back home, and they're throwing everything they've got in an effort to stop them. It's unbelievably satisfying to plow through dozens of enemies like this, and the fact that the water is too cold to swim in is a perfect callback to how the Kongs were unable to swim in Returns. If all that wasn't enough, the music track that plays for this level is one of the best in the Donkey Kong series. It's foreboding and somber, yet also powerful and determined, really adding to the atmosphere of the stage. Another big positive? It's also a fantastic level to beat without bananas. This jump at the start was proving extremely difficult and took me almost an hour. I wasn't getting enough momentum by just rolling, so I asked my Discord for advice. Listening to their words of wisdom, I used the ice physics to my advantage by building up speed when sliding, and finally made the jump. Aside from that, all you need to beat the stage without bananas is skillful platforming, and levels like this have consistently been my favorites to play for this run. It doesn't give me much to talk about in the script, but after how much of a headache level 1 was, I'm honestly fine with that. I would safely put this among the top 5 most enjoyable banana-less stages for this game, and I'd highly recommend trying it yourself if you're up for a challenge. Maybe skip the jump at the start though, it's really tight and not very fun. Let's hope level 3 is more of the same. Aqueduct Assault is a fantastic level with gorgeous aesthetics and really fun gameplay, and yet it's somehow my least favorite level in the world aside from the boss. The fact that a level this good is the low point of World 6 speaks volumes to its overall quality, but let's talk about bananas. The barrel at the start launches us directly into bananas, so we have to use a green balloon to avoid it. After that, this level gets really fun for a while. There's a ton of awkward banana formations to maneuver around and tight edge jumps to do, but it's honestly a blast. I even used Diddy Kong for a good chunk of the level since his barrel was sitting before the first checkpoint. He's still obviously inferior to his girlfriend, but it was nice to mix things up a bit at least. The ending portion really heats things up. The entire level starts crumbling and you'll have to make a bunch of edge jumps under a lot of pressure. It wasn't easy, but eventually I made it to the final slope where I was forced to collect 2 bananas because of a barrel. To fix this, I brought in Dixie and climbed the final tower as quick as I could to get a high vantage point. Once on top, I used 1 more green balloon to make it to the slope with 0 bananas. The gold barrel is just down this hill, but sadly it's just way too long to jump over completely. I had to make this tiny roll jump, land in the middle of the slope without grabbing more than 1 banana, and use the momentum from the slope to make it to the very edge. Frustrating we couldn't get it down to 0, but this was still one of the most enjoyable levels in the game for this challenge. Let's press on and try out level 4. Blurry Flurry is easily one of the best vehicle levels in the series, and it's all thanks to that super creative and pulse-pounding ending. Controlling a massive snowball as you plow through dozens of enemies is one of the most memorable moments in the series, and thankfully the rest of the level is pretty great too. I love the collapsing cave aesthetic, and they get pretty creative with what obstacles you have to dodge. There's also the Mama Bat from Crowded Cavern, which is probably my favorite callback to returns in the whole game. I love that original level, and the Mama Bat was a big part of why. I'm so glad she's here. As for the challenge, the name of the game here is straight flying. For those who haven't watched my No Banana run of returns, this is a technique from Geometry Dash that allows you to keep the ship flying in a relatively straight line. To perform it, mash the input button in a fast but consistent manner and hold the button down for as little time as possible. The same tech can be applied to Donkey Kong's Rocket Barrel stages too, since the Rocket Barrel is just a heavier version of the ship, and it will be essential for this stage. I've already been showing some pretty tight dodges on screen, but there's 2 parts in particular that really gave me trouble. First up is this section that really reminds me of the infamous ship part from Theory of Everything 2. Anyone else see the comparison, or have I completely lost it? Anyway, taking the top path wasn't working, but after switching my strategy and trying to go below, I pulled it off after only a handful of tries. Second up is this part right here after the bat I was just gushing about. No matter how straight my flying was, I just couldn't avoid a single one of these bananas. I tried clipping through the top and even using invincibility frames to my advantage, but sadly no dice. The snowball part is banana free though, so we end off the stage with just 6. That's the first half of levels on the main path. I can't wait to get into the second half because they are somehow an even better bunch. Case in point, Forest Follies. Wow, this level is incredible, and I totally slept on it when I first played the game. The atmosphere is second to only one other stage in the Donkey Kong series, the music is absolutely gorgeous, the snow covering the trees and tikis is breathtaking, and the level design is top-notch even by this game's standards. I love everything about this stage, and the second playthrough has really made me realize it's probably in my top 10 levels of the series. And on top of that, this is also somehow the best level in the entire game for the Minimum Banana Challenge, aside from maybe platform problems. There's a ton of bananas to dodge, but there's so much freedom in how you can approach the stage that you can actually avoid each and every one, even without items. Roll jumps are as important as usual, and with Dixie's help, there's very few gaps you can't cross. You'll have to abuse momentum with these spring platforms to skip banana lines, and it's super satisfying to pull off every single time. This barrel section is actually perfectly balanced around not collecting bananas, and this vine section, well, I'm honestly not sure what the best way to go about this is. I just used a green balloon and skipped it. Speaking of green balloons, I was having a hell of a time making this jump here with Dixie and brought one in to help. But go figure, that's the very attempt where I pull it off and make it look easy. After 3 checkpoints worth of some perfectly designed banana dodging goodness, we reach the ending barrel with 0. If I could only recommend one level for my viewers to try, this would absolutely be the one I'd pick. It's a fantastic challenge that's just the right difficulty in an already outstanding stage. But now that I'm thinking about the next level, it kinda makes sense that I slept so hard on this stage in my first playthrough. You know what? Forget the challenge for a minute. Cliffside Slide is my favorite platformer level of all time, and I don't hesitate for a second when saying that. This is a level where you climb up an avalanche using crumbling rocks and dinosaur bones as platforms. Those platforms are on a perfect cycle every time you reach them to give you a well-telegraphed amount of time and space to land. It's the single most gorgeous level in the game that uses silhouettes better than any other stage. It's a fantastic challenge that's the perfect crescendo of difficulty for this game. There's multiple Easter eggs and references to the Cliffs world from Returns. These barrel shots are some of the most satisfying, snappy, and cinematic in the entire series. The music is one of the best and most underrated songs on the soundtrack, and it fits the level perfectly. And if all of that wasn't incredible enough, there are dozens of enemies still trying to kill you despite a goddamn avalanche tearing the entire level apart. This shows how desperate the Snowmads are. The Kongs have torn through every other faction on the island effortlessly, and they're trying literally everything they can to stop them. I was genuinely speechless when I played this for the first time, and it hasn't fallen off a bit. This level is damn near flawless and a masterclass of platformer design I will never forget. Too bad it's absolutely atrocious for the challenge. I mean, have you been watching my gameplay? There's just way too many bananas from barrel shots here, and since we're constantly moving up as well as forward, green balloons are basically worthless. Actually, they're completely worthless. I only got them to work when I was at the checkpoint areas. This turned out to be by far the most expensive level in the game up to this point, with a whopping 49 bananas. That's as many bananas as the entirety of World 4, which had the highest banana count for the main route. At least we stayed under 50, I guess. 47 of these bananas come from barrel shots, so there really isn't much to go over, but there are still a couple interesting spots. A little ways after the first checkpoint is this part with a half circle of grabbable surface. Since we can't use green balloons in this level, our only option is to time a jump when the platform starts sinking and grab 2 of the 5 bananas. I tried to time a jump and get through with only one, but we just don't have nearly enough room, sadly. Right after this part is a dinosaur skull where we have to make a really tight landing on this ledge or roll over the entire thing, both of which are about equally hard to do. Aside from that, just make low jumps and take as much time as you can afford to get through the level with less than 50 bananas. Just 2 main levels left now, starting with Frozen Factory. I can't believe they knocked it out of the park for the 3rd time in a row. The best background from Returns that was only used in one level is back. It's even better now that everything's in a blizzard, and I love how this level is designed too. The platforming feels very slow and methodical, which is a lot of fun, but you can also breeze through it at a blistering pace if you know what you're doing. I also really like how you start up the factory at the start, and seeing that robot from Handy Hazards in the background is also a great callback. As for the challenge, I really don't have anything to say. Both the secret and normal exit are possible without bananas, and it's honestly not much harder than just playing normally. It's a little tricky in some spots, but all in all, it's a super simple affair that just requires skillful platforming and good timings throughout. Wait a minute, this level is called Frozen Frenzy? Why? Frozen Frenzy could literally apply to any of the levels in this world, and Frozen Factory is such a perfect name. Whatever. Just one more level to go before the final boss, Meltdown Mayhem. This part of the script was written in collaboration with Melontoad, one of the MVPs in my Discord server. I needed his help because he was actually the one that got a majority of the footage you're about to see. Now, where do I even begin with this one? I guess I should start by saying that this is my 2nd or 3rd favorite level in the game. You can never go wrong mixing fire and ice, and this level nails it. This is the best final level in the series, the best Rambi level in the series, and easily among the top 10 Donkey Kong levels ever. Unfortunately, despite all my praise, this is also unquestionably the biggest pain in the ass in the game for this run, and it's not even remotely close. There is no way in hell I would have been able to do it without the help of my Discord server, so thank you guys so much for the support here. Let's take it from the top. The brief start before we get to Rambi is obviously no issue, but once we reach his box, things get tricky. There's bananas all over the place, and since we need Rambi to break these targets, we don't have many options to avoid them. We do have one option though, and that is dismounting Rambi. When you do this, he's able to break through objects but unable to collect bananas, and this is the perfect combination of traits for our purposes. You basically have to use Rambi as a projectile to make progress, and you also have to make sure he doesn't land on top of any bananas. This is because the second you get back on Rambi, any bananas around his body will be collected. After a handful of tries, I made it to the first checkpoint without a single banana. That's where I stopped playing, but thanks to Melontoad, we have the rest of the level covered. Getting from the first checkpoint to this barrel section might seem difficult, but being able to dismount Rambi makes things much easier. Beware of the ice physics though. If you dismount Rambi too late, then he'll slide on the ice and die. Also shoutouts to Quag. She first had the idea of dismounting Rambi, Melon just executed the jumps. These rotating banana bunches are a little tricky. You have to wait for a specific cycle to avoid both of them and use Dixie's Twirl to land safely. The following part is really easy if you have patience. After breaking through these blocks, bananas appear, but you can skip them with no problem by just waiting for them to vanish. We've now reached the barrel section, and oh my god, these are some precise shots. Melon tried to do every shot one by one, and eventually concluded that the whole section was possible with 7 bananas. Somehow he saved 6 bananas on the last shot by complete accident, and Roy Mac proved the other bananas were skippable too. For some reason, the two of them were very determined to get this in one run, and they started to make it a competition. They both tried for about 2 hours and failed several times on the last shot. But then Melon got an idea. What would happen if you dismount Rambi before entering the barrel? Would you still be able to break the targets this way? And lo and behold, you can! Without Rambi, your hitbox is way smaller, and that makes most of these shots a lot easier. With this new strategy, it took Melon just 10 minutes to pull it off bananaless, and I've gotta say, this was really satisfying to watch. We've now reached the second checkpoint, and getting from here to the third is actually pretty easy apart from one jump. That jump is right at the start of the section. Melon tried to land on the edge of the platform, dismount Rambi, and then remount Rambi on the other side of the line, but there just doesn't seem to be enough time for that to work. Eventually, he figured out that you can roll off the platform after dismounting Rambi and sacrifice him Yoshi style. Conveniently, there's a Rambi box right above where you land, so the level can be continued as intended. The rest of the section is pretty much normal, and we actually managed to reach the final checkpoint without a single banana. But we're not done yet. The hardest and most complex part of the entire challenge is still ahead. There is one good thing about this, though. We finally get to use Cranky for the first time since World 4. Hell yeah! He's gonna do something crazy, isn't he? You're damn right he is. See why I wanted more Cranky in the run? This is my new favorite strat in the game, I think. Next, after breaking this block of ice, you'll have to stand still and slide down until you're at the edge. If you now start running with Rambi, you'll have way more speed than intended, allowing you to skip an otherwise unavoidable banana. This happens because the speed from running and the speed you gain from sliding down the ice get added together, resulting in way more speed than normally achievable. This is a really cool piece of tech in this game, and I'm glad we got to see it showcased. A well-placed pogo bounce will place us in the barrel, bringing us to pretty much the most climactic ending possible. This whole section has to be done in one go since there's a lava tsunami chasing you, and it's probably the single hardest trick on the run. Melon decided to name this section the Hell Run, which I'm quite confident is a reference to the Metroid speedrunning community. That made me really happy to see in the script. There were several improvements made to the Hell Run over time, so try and bear with me. At first, the main mission was to avoid the small ice cubes with banana bunches of them since they give 5 each. Eventually, Melon made it through while avoiding the ice blocks and only collecting 4 bananas. Right after reaching the goal, though, he got 5 bananas seemingly out of nowhere. Upon further inspection, we discovered that one of the 2 ice blocks automatically gives you 5 bananas at the end of the section if you didn't break it with Rambi. Why does this happen? I have no idea, but it does actually mean we can hit this ice block on the main route without consequence since we collect the bananas no matter what. Now we were pretty confident 6 was possible and pulled off one last dismount strat. Melon experimented and attempted this numerous times, but just couldn't get it. After a good night's sleep, he woke up the next morning fully motivated to get this over with. After over 250 attempts and a lot of determination, he finally got it done. It wasn't easy whatsoever, but with the effort and dedication of my Discord server, we dropped this behemoth of level all the way down to just 6 bananas. While obviously a massive headache, this is still easily one of the highlights of the series, and I'm so happy the final level ended up being such an incredible climax. And with that, we finally made it, the final boss. Good thing Meltdown Mayhem was so interesting, because this fight is just like Bashmaster from the last episode. Because Lord Frederick is constantly slamming onto the arena, any of the bananas that do spawn don't last long. It is a little harder than Punch Bowl, I guess, since you lose all control after landing a hit, but as long as you time your jumps properly, there's nothing to worry about. I suppose the anticlimactic ending is fitting for this fight because I'm honestly very mixed on it. The arena is flawless, Lord Frederick's attacks are super fun to dodge, and the music is great, but this fight is just so damn slow. You're seriously waiting around for minutes no matter how fast you try to go, and overall, despite so many genuinely fantastic elements, I ultimately find this fight to be kinda underwhelming. Bosses have always been the weakest link of the Donkey Kong series unless you're Jungle Beat. Now that we've played every required level, it's time to answer the question I posed at the start. In order to beat Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, you need to collect, at bare minimum, HOLD IT! In a full game run, you can't access Funky Shop without first beating level 2. And since we used items for the first 2 levels, that means we need to reevaluate them and see how many bananas are required without items. Back to where it all began, Mangrove Cove. In my first video, I used Diddy Kong to get past this part here, but since we can't get Diddy until far later in the stage, we have to do it without him. My Discord server and I tried for hours, but sadly we just couldn't avoid picking up 1 extra banana. After that though, the rest of the level plays out normally. Since we can't get Dixie before the hard jump in Shipwreck Shore, we had to figure out how to do it with Diddy Kong. I was away from my house at the time I realized this, so I asked Melon to get the clip. The best he managed was 4 extra bananas, even when bouncing off the bird at the perfect time. That's unfortunate, but now we finally have our grand total. You need to collect at least 289 bananas to beat Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Considering how many bananas there are in this game, that is an incredible score, and I'm honestly stunned we were able to keep it below 300. But we're not done just yet. How many bananas are required to beat every level? We still have 3 secret stages to go over on Donkey Kong Island, and 3 bonus stages to go over from the Secret Seclusion. Let's get started with Dynamite Dash. Unlike the rest of the world, the secret stages on Donkey Kong Island focus on being standard ice levels rather than relying on nostalgia for returns. As much as I love the main stages, I'm really glad we got a few more original levels too, especially because Dynamite Dash specifically is fantastic. It's another one of those stages where the entire level is crumbling below your feet, which is clearly the main theme of the world. Some may say it gets a little overused, but personally I don't mind at all, especially since it's fun each and every time. The island truly feels like it's breaking apart due to the snowmads, and the presentation and gameplay of these sections are always so wildly different and unique. In this level, the cavern is exploding from the inside, which makes perfect sense for what seems to be the Snowmad's dynamite storage cave. I really love that they brought back the zip lines too, but that brings us to the issue. This is another pain in the ass for the bananaless run, although at the same time it's also one of the most fun and interesting. Let's break it down. The start sees us making some enemy bounces and skipping the dynamite platforms, but it's nothing too bad. We then get to this part. I know it's possible without a green balloon, but I didn't figure it out until later, so I just skipped it over and moved on. The level gets really fun for a short bit until we get to a barrel section. A green balloon doesn't let us skip these 3 bananas here, but the rest of the bananas can be avoided with well-timed shots and a precise roll jump at the start. This is a pretty long section, so reducing it down to just 3 made me pretty happy. Now the real challenge begins. We need a green balloon here to skip this gap, and I thought I was going to need another one for this barrel that launches you into bananas. As it turns out though, that was pretty tough and required a damage boost, but shortly after some fun platforming we get to this ramp. A green balloon gets us by once again, but also made me take damage, which left me alone for this super long line of bananas. Thankfully though, there's nothing to worry about. By filling up this banana meter at the top left, we get access to a unique buddy move for each Kong. Diddy turns enemies into red balloons, Cranky turns them into banana coins, and Dixie turns them into extra hearts that can even stack on top of each other. Because the banana gauge transfers between levels and this final banana count we're going for is on a level-by-level basis, there's nothing stopping us from filling it up in a previous level and letting it rip in this one. Even if we do need to take damage at both spots, these hearts would obviously allow us to tank it no problem. After making it over the line, I reached the final checkpoint. I had to do even more tricky platforming for a bit, but before long I was forced to collect a whopping 18 bananas from this really cool barrel part. Then comes the final zipline. I knew this was going to be hell, so I called on Discord for help once again. Melon Toad came to the rescue and sent me multiple videos proving that only 8 bananas need to be grabbed here. Green balloons are obviously useless due to the avalanche, and this barrel here somehow missed a banana on one of Melon's attempts, but aside from that, this stuff pretty much speaks for itself. Thanks again so much for the help, Melon. We end off this level with 29 bananas, the most in the game outside of Cliffside Slide. That's not great of course, but with all the bananas and ziplines here, it's pretty impressive we kept it below 30. On to the next one. I'm glad that amidst all the chaos that is World 6, we still got a pretty standard ice level in the form of Icicle Arsenal. It's a pretty fun one too, but I've gushed about how good this game is for long enough. Let's talk bananas. There are several tricky jumps to make in this stage, such as this one at the start and this section with the super skinny platforms. For the most part though, there really isn't much for me to talk about individually. However, there are 2 fairly lengthy barrel sections to look at. This first one can be skipped with a simple roll jump and green balloon, but the second one is a little more interesting. This is one of the longest barrel sections in the game, and I didn't have much confidence going in, but to my surprise, we can dodge each and every banana. Most of it just requires some well-timed shots, but this part here needs a green balloon. It's pretty tricky to land in the barrel banana list, and the part immediately after is way tighter than it looks. There's just 2 banana bunches to dodge, but I still died here almost 10 times since there's so little room for error even when playing normally. Eventually though, I made it through and finished off the stage with 0 bananas. Just one more level to go on DK Island, Slippy Spikes. Originally I planned on doing this as my live commentary level, but oh my god, that is not happening. Let me start by showing you the part I did do live, the start.
Oh yeah. Oh, I would love the Tommy DLC. That's what I wanted to see. Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, I did it! Sorry. You're gonna be in the video. You okay? Yes, you are. Are you okay with being in the video? Yeah, I'll pay you like 20% of what the video makes, which will be like $5. Alright, fair enough.
Yeah, doing that on top of everything I'm about to show you just didn't seem feasible at all. I stopped there and decided to save the live run for one of the secret seclusion levels. So, how are we going to climb this tower? After hours of grinding and advice from my Discord server, we managed to get it down to just one single banana, and here's how. Jump off this bottom hoot and land on the platform with a heart. Jump on the fire hoot, land on the very edge of this platform, and bounce on the top hoot to reach the vine. Also, don't be an idiot like I was and grab the second banana. To reach the top without grabbing any more, you'll have to make a really tight Dixie float, which took me about a half hour to pull off. Once you make it up, things are pretty smooth sailing for a while. There's some tricky stuff left, but nothing too notable until the end. I couldn't get all the way to the other side with a green balloon, but by damage boosting off the spikes below, I made it after only a few tries. Now I just had the final slope to deal with. It's really tight, but you can actually land between all these bananas and make it to the end while only collecting 1 for the entire level. That's really impressive for this stage and finally gives us our grand total for all levels on Donkey Kong Island, 113 bananas. Just 3 levels left to go now, the secret seclusion stages. All 3 of these courses are fantastic post-game content in both aesthetic and especially challenge, but at this point in the run I'm honestly exhausted and don't feel the need to talk about their quality individually anyway. They're all fantastic and Rocket Rails is probably my favorite. Let's just look at the bananas. Levitation Station immediately forces us into a barrel at the start of the level, and since none of these platforms spawn until you take it, a green balloon doesn't help either. I tried to jump the gap since these blocks way over here do spawn automatically, but it just wasn't enough. Reluctantly, I accepted 6 bananas and pressed on. The start of the level is pretty tough, requiring multiple quick and precise edge jumps, but once you make it to the upper blocks, it's pretty easy to just roll jump past a lot of it. After some more platforming, we make it to a barrel section, and sadly, green balloons just don't give us enough height to skip any of them. In total, this adds a whopping 22 more bananas, and we're not even halfway through the level yet. This really cool low gravity part is super simple to do with Dixie, but the barrel that takes us out of this section automatically gives us another banana. No time to think though, since now we have to make some more tight jumps, collect 2 more bananas from another barrel, and finish off the stage with an unfortunate 31. I was really hoping Cliffside Slide would be the only level to give us more than 30, but let's see how our last 2 go. The beginning of Rocket Rails is short but really fun. I had to land on the very edge of this platform and slowly walk between each of these bobbing bananas, but after that we reach a barrel. This gives us 12 bananas on its own, but we're also thrust into a minecart. I really didn't want to route another one of these, but thankfully Rory Mac had me covered. After a lot of optimization and some help from other members of my Discord, he managed to get through this entire minecart section with just 9 bananas. Obviously, he didn't do it all in one run, but considering how tight that is, it's totally understandable. Also, apparently the starting barrel randomly gives you 11 bananas instead of 12? Definitely weird, and I have no idea what causes it, but minus 1 more banana, I guess. After landing in some water, there's another barrel that gives 11 more bananas. Man, this world has really screwed us over with these things. After a little more standard but fun banana dodging, I reached the rocket barrel section. There are quite a few tight squeezes here, and it took me a ton of tries, but eventually I got a run where I made it through with 0. Now I gotta fill the time so I can show off the entire run, but thankfully the background is a perfect candidate. I think this is genuinely my favorite one in the game. The crumbling temple aesthetic in the sky is right up my alley. The statues returning from returns are really nice to see, and the fish being added as both enemies and architecture are super memorable and mysterious. As for the music, it's honestly a little repetitive and definitely not one of my favorite tracks in the game. It's still great, just a low point. Back to the run, the final section is really tricky. You'll need some pretty skillful roll jumps and enemy bounces, and once you make it to the vine, you'll need a green balloon. After dozens of tries, I fell off, hovered with Dixie as close as I could to the barrel, and floated over to the next platform. That was probably the tightest green balloon float I had to make for this challenge aside from the one in Scorch and Torch. After that, just don't choke the final section and you'll finish off the stage with 31 total bananas. Weird that we got the exact same score as the last one, but I'm gonna try like hell to make sure the last one doesn't cost as much. For the grand finale, we have Crazy Clouds, and as promised, I'll be doing live commentary. I'm equally excited and shocked to say that this level is just as good a finale for this run as Meltdown Mayhem. I'll be giving myself checkpoints so I have the best combination of commentary and gameplay possible. Please enjoy. I am genuinely in disbelief that this and Meltdown Mayhem both ended up being 2 of the best and most interesting levels for this challenge. I mean, that's just so perfect. Anyway, this is Crazy Clouds, no bananas. Yes, that's right, no bananas. I cannot believe it's possible in 0, but it is. After a lot of routing from myself and the Discord server, we determined it is possible at 0, and I will be doing it with checkpoints. The first checkpoint, oops, didn't mean to pause there. First checkpoint is going to be shortly after I have to make a really awkward roll jump right here, so let me focus on this. These cloud things I gotta float through are just really janky. Yes, I got it. All right, on to the next one. Alright, I'm actually starting the recording from back here because I realized you can make it a lot easier by carrying momentum from the cloud like that. That's a really good jump. Yeah, that should do it. Okay. Alright, now there's still one more really hard jump. Let's not choke it. This part is actually really consistent to do like I'm doing here. I've done it so many times because I failed that jump so many times. Okay, I'm going to pop off pretty hard, and I'm not even at the end of the level. Okay, here we go. Yes! Yes! Let's go! Uh-oh. Well, obviously, that's not... Come on, come on. Ah! Well, clearly I proved it was possible, so, future me could take it from here. As you can see, I have 1 heart missing. That is important. Health is going to be a big part of this. So, yeah, future me will take it from here. Hell yeah! Alright, I'm back for another one. So this time I have to wait for this platform to be at its highest point, do an awkward float with Dixie to gain momentum, and then roll off. That seemed pretty good. We'll have to see if it's enough. Alright, it was. And I got the heart there to refill my health. I can't really talk for this next part. Okay, see, I'm already screwing up. Alright, wish me luck. This part's really tight. Oh my god. Oh my god, okay. Now I just have to not choke this final part. This final part's pretty easy. Oh, thank god I finally made it. So yeah, you actually do have to get through there with no damage. The 3 items you want to bring into this level would be the green balloon, or 2 green balloons at the start, and then the heart boost for the entire thing. So right now, because I collected the heart from that barrel section and the heart right after I landed on that rocket, I have, I believe... I'm not sure. I'll have to cut this part out. But okay. Alright, forget literally everything I was saying before. I recorded that last part at midnight, and I was super exhausted. And as it turns out, I was also very wrong about the items. My Discord server was trying to convince me I needed 2 green balloons and a heart boost. Turns out you need 3 green balloons, and then you can actually do the rest with the buddy move, which is that bar up in the top left. You do have to fill it with bananas, but there's nothing stopping you from just getting the bananas from a different level, so that's no worry here.
Alright, let's try to get this part done. I'm going to use the buddy move right up here. Well, I kind of messed that up, but that's alright, I can save it. So, I'm going to use the buddy move right here. That'll skip a really annoying roll jump and allow me to get some hearts so I can damage boost the ending. So that's perfect. Alright, now I'm going to use, well, we got to do a few more jumps, and then I'm going to use the green balloon to skip a really, really annoying set of jumps there with those hoots. I have done it a couple times. It is possible. It's just really annoying. Okay, here we go. Grand finale. This rocket momentum is pretty janky, so it's pretty tough, but here we go. Oh my god! Oh my god! Okay, yes! Yes! I think I did it! I'm finally done! Oh, that level alone, and of course I get bananas in the final barrel. Oh, that level alone probably took like 8 hours. Oh my god. Oh, thank you guys so much for watching all of this. I'm going to hand it over to my future, I guess, past self, because I already wrote the script for the conclusion. And, yeah, I don't have much more to say. Let's go! And just like that, we finally have our ultimate answer. When looking at each level individually and adding them up, 477 bananas are required in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I'm so happy we kept the score below 500, and 477 is unbelievably impressive, all things considered. Before we wrap it up, let's go over a few interesting tidbits I've learned over the past month. Shipwreck Shore is the only level in the game where the secret exit actually requires more bananas than the main one, since you always collect a banana when going through the portal for some reason. Including bosses, 28 levels are possible with 0 bananas, 7 of those coming from the Bright Savannah alone. Speaking of the Bright Savannah, only 4 total spots require bananas in that entire world, 2 of which are banana bunches from barrel shots and 2 of which are lines of bananas from precarious pendulums. Donkey Kong Island was unsurprisingly our most expensive world and the only one to reach triple digits with 113, nearly half of which comes from Cliffside Slide. Speaking of which, that level was our most expensive by far at 49 bananas, but other than that one and 2 of the secret seclusion stages, every level in the game is possible with less than 30. Meltdown Mayhem is easily the hardest stage for this run, but honestly a pretty large chunk of these levels can get unbelievably difficult and precise. That being said, I'd love to see someone try and attempt a run of this game that collects less than 300 bananas. It would be insanely difficult and would probably take months of practice, but I genuinely think it would be really interesting to watch. That's all I have for tidbits, but a few more things before I go. My Discord server is still trying to chip away at the banana counts and probably have already saved some by the time this video is released. If you'd like to join, click the link in the description below. We have a ton of fun there, and now that this massive project is over, who knows what kind of things we'll get up to. This series was far and away the biggest project I've ever worked on. If not for my job being seasonal, this easily could have taken 4 to 6 months to get done. I worked my ass off to make this video series, and especially this final video, as good as I possibly could, and I really hope my viewers enjoyed the finished product. The thing about YouTube is that realistically, I will never hear a word from a majority of my audience since so few people leave comments. That's totally fine, of course, but it does make me a little nervous sometimes since I have no idea what a lot of people are thinking. So if you do have something on your mind about my content, please don't hesitate to let me know. Maybe you thought this video was incomplete and inaccurate because I failed to factor in Kong letters. Maybe you really like the way I reviewed the stages alongside the challenge. Negative feedback is what helps me improve, and positive reinforcement is the biggest motivator to keep going. Both are essential to make this channel the best it can be. I'm not sure what the next video will be, but I'm telling you right now, it's sure as hell ain't gonna be Donkey Kong related. I would love to go back to the SNES games or even Jungle Beat with a similar challenge, and maybe I will someday, but for now I need a break from this franchise. I don't know if this is something other YouTubers experience as well, but playing and editing footage from one franchise for hours every day over the past 2 months has genuinely made me lose some of my sanity. I love bananas, but I can't even look at one anymore without thinking of Donkey Kong. I have dreams about Donkey Kong. I see Donkey Kong levels in random places outside. I can't get the music out of my head. God damn it, I went to get groceries the other day and I thought I saw a Dixie Kong because there was a lady with a bright blonde ponytail. All of that being said, I have one last thing to say before I go. This was only my second time playing through Tropical Freeze, and despite this project being unbelievably stressful and frustrating at times, I still came out of it realizing that this is the best 2D platformer I have ever played. The level design is genuinely unmatched in the genre, reaching heights most platformers don't even come close to, and somehow it's able to do it with damn near every single stage. The visuals are stunning, the soundtrack is one of the best I've heard from a game, and Donkey Kong Island might just be my favorite area in any video game. There are some negatives, of course. Diddy Kong gets completely outclassed, the air meter is a worthless addition, and the bonus rooms are genuinely atrocious, which is the only major criticism I have of the game. But all in all, despite its flaws, Tropical Freeze remains a triumph of game design that hits every single nail right on the head. It is a masterpiece from start to finish, and I cannot recommend it enough. Thank you so much for watching this video. I tried really hard to make a worthy finale, and I hope the quality reflects that. I didn't make this video out of a desire to prove something or to make money. I made this video because I have a ton of genuine love and passion for the project. I hope that going forward I can continue to grow and make even better content in the future.
Please leave a like or dislike and subscribe to my channel for more gaming videos soon to come. Have a fantastic day, and excuse me while I go take a fat nap. I desperately need it.